ready? Good evening. Welcome to the Mashpee Select Board meeting, Monday, June 23rd, 2025, in the McCoy Meeting Room, 16 Great Neck Road North in Mashpee, Mass. It's broadcast live on local cable channels 8 and 1072, and streamed live on the Town of Mashpee website at https://www.mashpeema.gov/channel-8. It's 6 p.m. and we're going to convene an open session. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And can we have a moment of silence, please? Thank you. Okay, the first thing on our agenda, the minutes, review and approval of minutes from Monday, June 9th, regular and executive session.
Move to approve them as written.
As written. Did you make a motion?
I do. No, I move.
Okay.
I second.
Any discussion? Tracy?
No discussion? Yes.
Yes. David?
I abstain.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. Appointments and hearings. We have Mr. Brian Tobin, our town planner, here for the review and approval of the housing production plan. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, just for the record, I'm Brian Tobin, and I'm the town planner, and I am here tonight before you to request respectfully that this board would adopt the housing production plan, June 2025 version for the town of Mashpee. I'll go over a quick recap and timeline of how we got to where we are here today. Then I'm happy again to answer any questions or take any comments. And then again, I would respectfully request a vote. So prior to my onboarding, this plan was approximately a year to a year and a half in the making. Recently, I reinitiated the project with the consulting group, which is Barrett Consulting, and we set forth a very aggressive time frame to get this adopted. I'm pleased to say that everything has gone according to plan and according to schedule. And we're very, very happy with the June 2025 draft that's before you this evening. As a quick recap, we first met with this board to discuss this plan on May 19th. That was approximately 2 weeks after the plan went live. The May 2025 version of the plan went live on the Planning Department webpage the same day as our town meeting, which began the 30-day public comment period. We had a joint working group meeting on 5/21 with the Planning Board and the Affordable Housing Committee. We had a HPP working group meeting in general, which consisted of 2 members of this board as alternate members, Ms. Wyman Colombo and Mr. David Whedon, and Mr. Michael Sparks, the chair of the Affordable Housing Committee, who's also here tonight in the audience. Miss Mary Wagon, who's the chair of the planning board, the consultant, and myself. And that allowed us an opportunity to really brainstorm, get into the details, and really wordsmith a number of the public comments that we were receiving via email at the address hppcomment@mashpeema.gov. On 6/3, we had another Affordable Housing Committee and Planning Board meeting, workshop. On 6/4, the planning board itself met individually and discussed this plan further. During this time period and all of these meetings, the public comment period was open, And so members of the public came to a number of these joint meetings between the AHC and the planning board, as well as the planning board meetings themselves. On 6/6/2025, the public comment period closed. On 6/9, we had another select board meeting to discuss this plan, where a number of the select board members made some very important comments that were incorporated into the plan. On 6/11, we had our final working group meeting. On 6/16, we had the final June 2025 version of the plan that's before you tonight. Then this past Wednesday, on 6/18, I'm pleased to announce that the planning board voted unanimously to adopt this plan. That is the June 2025 version. Mr. Michael Sparks, again, chair of the AHC, was at that meeting and expressed to us the full support of his committee for the plan. So I am here before you tonight to request the same. And I'm happy to answer any questions or take any comments.
Before I accept a motion, are there questions?
I don't have any questions, just a great job. That was a very aggressive timeline.
Thank
so
you.
I'm happy to see it wrapping up.
Thank you.
It was a lot of work and a lot of time, and you did get a lot of feedback from the town. So you had an awful lot of opportunity to make decisions based on what people wanted. So I think the board did a great job, you guys.
I 100% agree. Yeah, no, I have to deflect all credit to the town of Mashpee, to be honest with you. The involved public, my board, I serve a fantastic board, the planning board. We have an excellent chair and just an excellent composition of members. Karen Faulkner, legally trained, very smart, very dedicated, committed. Michael Richardson, a former member, quick wit. Dale Oakley brings just a common sense perspective. Dennis Balzerini, years of experience on the board. Rob Hansen, practical guy, great to work with. Mike Milbury, just getting to know him, just got on the board, but he's already making contributions with his experience on the ZBA. So I can't take credit for all the hard work that the planning board did. They were fantastic. And of course, I appreciate all the input from members of this board. Ms. Wyman Colombo, your comments regarding the environment and the importance of affordable housing. Mr. Whedon, the great discussions we had on just how we can best collaborate with the tribe and get the state to discuss some really important ideas. Tracy, I thought your comments were fantastic on the importance of potentially doing some surveys in advance of redoing the next plan when it comes up for another adoption in 5 years. So I appreciate that feedback. And Mr. Cotton isn't here, but we had great discussions about Safe Harbor. So, you guys deserve the credit, and I was just fortunate enough to get to kind of be involved. So,
Well, and thank you for all of your work and your leadership. I'd entertain a motion to approve and adopt the housing production plan as
So moved.
presented.
Second?
Any discussion? Mike?
Yes,
David?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
And yes.
good job, you guys.
I just want to echo Chair Member's comments that thank you for your leadership and, you newly coming on board and getting that done in such an aggressive schedule. It was, it took a lot of work, and I appreciate all the edits. There was a significant amount of edits, and great job.
thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. I also just want to thank the town manager's office for being so supportive. So,
All right.
thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay. We have a presentation by the Cape and Islands District Attorney, Rob Gallibois, who's here with us tonight. District Attorney Gallibois, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to present again, and tough act to follow. You all just applauded for him at the end of his. I don't expect that after my remarks, so. And again, I really appreciate this. I was scheduled to come before you a couple weeks ago, but I had a family emergency that prevented me from being here, so I appreciate you putting me back on the agenda. And this is now the third time that I've presented before the board in this particular fashion. So as they say, tempus fugit, or time is flying, and I'm already looking at trying to run for this office again in the near future. I noticed you have a considerable agenda, so I'm going to keep my remarks under 10 minutes. But there are 5 topics that I wanted to talk about that are new, so to speak, that have kind of gone on since the last time I presented before you. About 2 years ago now, 2 months ago, I apologize, we launched a new program called CERT, or Child Emergency Response Team. And what it is, it's a collaborative effort between certainly our office, prosecutors and victim witness assistants in our office, but also law enforcement partners that we work with, the Department of Children and Family Services, and Children's Cove, where we conduct our forensic interviews and examinations. It was launched and headed by Courtney Scalisi, who is the chief of our Child Protection Unit. And what it does is it basically it alerts the team right away whenever we have a child victim of a physical assault or a sexual assault. And it gives us the opportunity through these team efforts to try to fully investigate the case as quickly as possible, as well as provide the necessary services to both the child and the family as quickly as possible. Like I said, it's about 2 months ago now. Courtney has conducted 2 trainings across the Cape. Each training has had north of 60 attendees, so we feel it's off to a pretty good start. And this is a program that I'm looking forward to coming back to you next year and explaining how we've done in the past year. I also wanted to talk a little bit about human trafficking. That's something that I talked to you about last year, and I do have to revisit something before I talk about what we've done more recently. But when we first came into office, you might remember I talked about how we got a grant, it's just under $100,000, which allowed us to conduct a series of trainings across Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket for law enforcement folks regarding investigative techniques, and those folks in the hospitality and the transportation industry, kind of like an awareness thing. We felt those trainings went off really well, and that presented us with some credibility when we went back to the Office of Grant and Research and asked for another $100,000 grant. This time we were asking for those funds to conduct a statewide training. They gave us the $100,000. And this past April 10th and 11th, we had a 2-day training over in Hyannis. We had 38 presenters from across the country come to present at this training. We had over 200 attendees every single day. We had, phenomenal local detectives, including Detective Katie Parachi, who's with Barnstable PD, but she works with all area police departments, and she's also sworn in Homeland Security person, so she does federal investigations. We had members from the Boston Police Department, Sergeant Mark Sullivan and Dr. Abigail Judge. We had the FBI sent a team down. We had all 5 members of the U.S. Attorney's Office's human trafficking team come down to give a presentation, as well as the U.S. Attorney herself coming down to introduce them. And perhaps just as importantly, we had representatives from the Office of Grant and Research, for lack of a better description, maybe spying on us. They came down for 2 days to see how we were doing, and they had some nice things to say when we were done, and they kind of approached us and said, well, what's next on the agenda? Some small conversations, we'll see where it leads. We're talking about maybe doing a New England-wide training next year, but right here on the Cape, so we'll see. We're kind of excited about it. I did want to take a moment to talk about fentanyl. When I took office, I started a brand new policy. Whenever someone was arrested on fentanyl on trafficking charges, those are your business dealers. Those are the ones that are pushing the poison for profit, if you will. There's a really powerful statute referred to as the dangerousness statute, that the prosecutors can seek to hold someone without bail from the very outset of the case. Having been in private practice and doing criminal defense work for about 20 years before I got this position, I was certainly well aware from prior experiences that a lot of those folks prepared for the rainy day, if you will. They knew that they were going to get charged at some point in time and built up that bank account to bail themselves out, and more often than not, candidly, they'd go back to plying their trade while the case was pending. Under this statute, you are held from jump, and you don't have the ability to go back out into that and perform under that enterprise. So we now have some data to digest. I started this literally on January 4th, 2023, when I took office. The 2023 data revealed that non-fatal overdoses were down 10% across the district, and fatal overdoses were down 7%. So that was encouraging. But now we've got 2024 to compare. 2024 non-fatal overdoses were down 25% from 2023, and fatal overdoses were down 35% from 2023. I must absolutely recognize and acknowledge the more prevalent availability of Narcan, and that is a good thing. That is very much a good thing. But I think you can also draw a reasonable inference that this policy that we have, this hardline policy of trying to hold them, these folks, without bail from the outset, is having a positive impact. I also wanted to briefly mention something in regards to a grant that we received from Cape Cod Healthcare. Many of you might be aware that just about a month or so ago now, Cape Cod Healthcare opened up a brand new building over on their campus. They refer to it as the Tower. It's for cancer patients. And we learned last summer something interesting, that Cape Cod Healthcare was required to invest in stakeholders across the district to get the permits from the Department of Public Health to build that facility. So I went back to my team and said, we may have an opportunity here to dip into a pot of gold. What can we possibly put together? So we decided that we wanted to try to put together something regarding SIMS, or Critical Incident Management Systems. What it is whenever an officer responds to an overdose situation, they are to go back to the police department and enter that information into this SIMS database, which puts the service providers on notice that this patient just had an overdose experience. And just to give you an example, I'm not picking on any towns. If someone from Hanover, Massachusetts came down to Hyannis and had an overdose experience, when the Barnstable officer goes back to the station and enters that information, the service providers from the Hanover area where this person came from is notified right away, and it's kind of like a real-time type of thing. So we saw some room to perhaps expand this SIMS database in two ways that I'll speak about in a minute. Right now on Cape Cod, 14 out of my 15 police departments participate in SIMS. Mashpee participates in SIMS. So literally as we're having these conversations in the office, I happened to be at a restaurant one night where Mike Loff, the president and CEO of Cape Cod Healthcare, was also there. He and I live in the same village of Barnstable. And I got his attention for a minute, and I explained to him that we had some thoughts, and he starts talking. And when the president and CEO of Cape Cod Healthcare starts talking, I listen. And I literally, I'm killing myself for this, I started taking the notes on the napkin. I brought the napkin back to my team. I said, this is what he said. That conversation led to a 10-page single-space proposal for them to consider. We had about a half dozen to 8 meetings with Cape Cod Healthcare. They then brought in the Department of Public Health, and after about 9 months, we got the award, $1 million. And it's going to be broken up over 4 years, $250,000 a year, and we're looking to expand SIMS in a couple of different ways. We'd like to expand it to the other department on the Cape that isn't using it. I did this, if you will, presented to a select board that wasn't using it. The town was not using it recently, and it got a little media attention, and I just got word about 3 or 4 days ago that now they're gonna jump on board, so that's really a good thing. We want to expand it to Martha's Vineyard, where I have 6 police departments, and they've already expressed an interest, and Nantucket as well has expressed an interest. But we also looked at the database, and we saw some room to grow it there. We think we'd be able to provide interpretive services. We think we're going to be able to help out with housing options, and we think we could do something in the area of wellness. So we're really looking forward to expanding it, both in terms of the number of the departments using it and the services that would allow us to provide our residents. And again, this is something I'm really looking forward to coming back and talking about next year. The last thing I just wanted to check in about was in the area of elder fraud abuse. Every month, the detectives on the Cape have a monthly meeting. It's hosted by the Howard Police Department. And I try to go to as many meetings as I can, but I started noticing a trend. For a long time, it was conversations circling around B&Es into cars, basically grabbing loose change, purses or wallets, things of that sort, B&Es into seasonal homes or abandoned homes. But then it was elder fraud from this town. Elder fraud from this town, to the point where literally going around the entire table, all they would talk about during these meetings is elder fraud. So I asked for some data. I asked for 2023 cases and year-to-date 2024. We're talking about October at that point. And I happen to know the Barnstable numbers off the top of my head. However, the percentage that I'm going to reference at the end is consistent across the 22 towns I represent. Barnstable had 393 cases, or calls rather, for elder fraud during that time frame. Of that, they were able to put a report together in 253 of those 393. Of that, they only had the resources to go forward to actually charge someone in 15 cases, or roughly 5%. So obviously, it's too rampant, the fraud that's out there. So again, go back to the team, say, how can we possibly help out? The proposal we put together was to hire in total 6 people. 2 forensic examiners, we're thinking CPAs or certified public accountants that are on the tail end of their career, have made their money in private practice, now want to engage in some public service. A couple prosecutors, of course, to prosecute the cases, and a couple victim witness assistants to work with all of the victims. Grand total came to approximately, I think it's $580,000. We're considering having a summit this fall to help convince, certainly the Cape delegation, I think, will buy in because it benefits them. But convince the powers that be in Boston that we really need this. We are by far the oldest county in Massachusetts, and I think we rank actually 3rd in the entire country. And the fraud is incredibly rampant. So we've already gotten 22 letters of support from our police chiefs. I've gotten letters of support from Cape Cod 5. Cape Cod Cooperative said they'll buy in and do a letter of support. Martha's Vineyard Bank. We're meeting with Siemens Bank, I think, at the end of this week. I have 10 councils on aging that have signed off on a letter of support. And again, doing this to the various select boards that I've gone to, Barnstable, Yarmouth, Falmouth, Brewster have all said they would author a letter of support. Barnstable County government, Dukes County government said they'd do the same. So we've had some conversation about maybe putting together a summit of elected officials, including everyone here in this room, to gather this fall so we could put together a more formalized presentation of just how badly we need some help here. And somehow, some way, this actually caught the ear of Channel 5. They said they'd be willing to come down to cover it. So there's actually some really potential here to highlight just how bad it is and how much help we truly need. So that's my pitch for you all. I stand ready to answer any questions if you have any questions.
Well, thank you very much.
How do we get that 15th town to sign on? That's all.
I'm sorry?
How do we get that last town to sign on? You get 14 out of 15.
So when candidly, I mean, it's all on video, what I'm about to share with you, the chair of that town, after I finished my remarks, said, well, what can we do to help your office? And, a little bit of dramatic moment, pregnant pause was, you're the 15th town. And about a week later, I got notification that they had conversations with certain others in town, and next thing you know, they're looking to join.
Madam Chair.
Please.
On the elder fraud, I forget, there was one of the banks, I believe it was Cape Cod 5, they came and did a cybersecurity awareness training for
Yes.
the tribe, and elders participated. It was really comprehensive. I was impressed. A lot of the touch points that they covered was fraud
Right.
and elder abuse and things, and the information was just really put in a way that was digestible, and it might be good to integrate that with some of the senior programs to try to educate the elder community through those mechanisms that are already in place.
Yeah.
And they have existing information that may help with that. Don't quote me on the Cape Cod 5. I believe it was Cape Cod 5, but I'm not positive.
I fully agree with you. Just sharing kind of a random thought, but what's, really becoming scary in terms of fraud, not just with elders, but in particular with elders, is AI. And now the ability to capture a family member's voice and put that through a phone call, it's starting to have some real impact in the fraud world. So we got to figure out how to address it.
Kayla, can I have one more?
Please.
I work in a small outside organization here on the Cape, and we collect money and pay. We get tons and tons of emails to everybody in the organization asking for a favor, or asking for somebody to do something, and we've checked with the local people, and there's not much they can do about it. Right. We try to educate our people to look at the email address when it comes in, somebody asking for a favor, but they use my name, they use a bunch of other names within the organization I work, right. And some people just don't know what to do. Is there anything we can do?
Well, to Mr. Whedon's point, it's like as much outreach as you possibly can to bring awareness to it. I have to credit the police departments really are doing a good job, and I know councils on aging are trying to address it as well. I think really the only way we kind of get there is as much outreach about the issue as we can possibly do. But of course, we're all limited by the resources we have, or lack thereof.
Josie, anything?
No questions.
I just want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know if Mashpee Police has sent a letter of support for the grant, but I think certainly if we could put a draft together to have this board look at for approval. So
We can email something through the chair, and then if you would vote on it, I'd greatly appreciate it.
that would be great to have that.
Thank you.
And we could bring it to the board.
Thank you.
So,
So for the record, Chief Carline did sign off on it, so just so you know. Okay?
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We now have a project update on the Santuit Pond Landing stormwater, water quality, and resilience improvements from Scott Turner from Fuss and O'Neill and Ashley Fisher.
Good evening. For those of you who aren't aware, this is our 2-year award from the Massachusetts Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program. The town did receive roughly $1.7 million for this project to completely restore the Santuit Town Landing. So we're going to go over with you our plans to move into the construction phase in next year. We plan to go to construction in the fall just because of the boat ramp and letting everybody utilize that for the summer. But this is just an update to look at some of the design plans and what we've done thus far and what you would see down there once we're done and completed. So I have Scott Turner here from Fuss and O'Neill. He's the project lead for the next 2 years.
Thanks, Ashley. My name is Scott Turner. I'm with Fuss and O'Neill. I'm a professional engineer and a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. And honestly, these are the types of projects that I love to do because they're proactive projects, they're great projects, and the only intent is to really make the world a better place and clean up water quality. So I have a short presentation to go through, and then we'll entertain any questions, although if you have questions while I'm presenting, feel free. So we're just going to go through, this is really the agenda, just nutrient sources to the pond, completed and ongoing work. I'll talk a little bit about the proposed improvements for the town landing and next steps. So in town, water quality is certainly a concern. Phosphorus in particular is a real problem for most water bodies due to a number of things, including stormwater. So phosphorus from lawns, from other sources, typically makes its way into ponds and has significant impacts, to fish, aquatic life. You also get some phosphorus and nitrogen loadings from septic systems. And so at the town landing, we've been involved. The town has been involved for a number of years through the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program. It's a grant program that's issued by the state. Congratulations on getting so many awards in a row. Most towns do not get that. So kudos to Ashley and all the folks here. Also received some water quality management planning grants. And these grants were used to move the project to where it is now. And so right now, if you're familiar with Town Landing, you really have a driveway and a boat ramp. It's a beautiful place. The pond is wonderful. But really, what we want to do is make it more attractive and make it more desirable for folks in town and surrounding towns. And so the way we're doing that is to stormwater improvements, an enhanced shoreline buffer, pollinated garden, constructing a new parking lot, which is located right off of Timberline Drive, kayak and canoe launch, a boat ramp, provide more opportunities for fishing. We also have a public art component as well, working with the tribe to include sculpture and a mural down the street. Really what it has is it has, you know, 5 bioretention basins that collect water and infiltrate them into the ground. Has a porous pavement parking area for vehicles and for boats. Definitely will make will be an improvement over what's there now, for sure. Our next steps are we have the project out to bid. It went out on June 9th. We had a pre-bid meeting last Monday afternoon. We're continuing to coordinate artwork with the tribe. Receiving bids this Wednesday by 2 o'clock. And construction is slated to begin in the fall and be done next spring. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Are there questions?
I have a couple of questions. I was just curious, it's great that it's state funded, so that's really exciting, so great job, and thank you. I am curious about just the maintenance planned. Is permeable pavement, is there like ongoing maintenance, would that be on the town, or is that a state, that would be potentially be state funded as well, or?
The maintenance would be on the town. We've been coordinating with the DPW director and our conservation agents. We're well aware that we need to take care of the bioretention areas and the pollinator gardens, as well as the permeable pavers that will require some upkeep over the years.
Right. Awesome. Thank you. And I just had one other question. I noticed a piece about community engagement, and I'm just curious, like, what does that, look like, and, how could we be more supportive and
Yeah, so it's been ongoing. Actually, this is part of community engagement, bringing you all up to date and having it broadcast. But there have been some public presentations. There has been presentations like this in the past. We were present at the Honor the Earth Festival in April. What else was there?
More of a focus on the community engagement is we're engaging with the tribal youth, the Native Environmental Ambassadors. I think they changed their name,
Excellent.
NEA kids. And so they're coming down and helping paint the mural, the town landing. They're involved with the sculpture design. We're involved with Jason in designing that sculpture and coming up with the ideas for what will be there. We do have a draft of what it looks like is a 16-foot tall herring circulating in a circular pattern with an osprey at the top of it, catching the herring out of the pond. So it's going to look really nice once we're done, but we have heavy involvement from the education department and the NEA kids and Jason's crew.
Great. Thank you.
Others? David?
Couple questions. On the enhanced shoreline buffer, is it a priority to utilize specifically indigenous plantings? That's a touchy subject for some tribal members and the chief in particular.
Yes, they will all be native plantings.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working with the chief is going to come down and we're going to work with him with the art piece and some of the native plantings too. So Jason has brought that up as part of the planning. Yep.
I was wondering if you had reached out also to engage the Wampanoag language reclamation program, because like with the heron and the osprey and any other kind of integrating Wampanoag language into your signage and other things, there's a process, and they need lead time to be able to translate words and things, but it would be a nice element to include the Wampanoag language.
Yeah, so on the mural design, we have engaged with the language department, and there will be a feature. There's sections of the retaining wall. There's a smaller section of the retaining wall that will feature the native language, and it's going to say "water is life" in Wampanoag.
Nice. One last one. The gated entrance. Not sure, I'm not a biggest fan of gates. I don't like that as a solution to problems, where these are public spaces. encroaching on people's time when they visit these places. I don't know that I'm the biggest supporter, so what's the kind of justification for putting a gate there at this stage?
We have seen vandalism and trash down there. The hope is with the improvements that won't occur. Can't promise that won't occur, so it would be a safeguard for that. We will definitely install a gate. It doesn't mean it's going to be used at all times, but we would have to look into security cameras if we do not utilize the gate.
Yeah, I get it. Not the biggest fan. If other ways could be explored to address bad behavior, I'd welcome that. Otherwise, nicely done.
I want to thank you for the presentation. And I remember, was it just a year ago that you had the cleanup day at Santuit, and everybody was there to show the projects and show the community involvement, and it's nice to see this coming through to fruition. I want to echo Mr. Turner's compliments to Ashley for all the work you've done. It's appreciated. So thank you very much.
And I did want to share that in partnership with the tribe and Jason and the Natural Resource Department over there, the tribe did receive a $700,000 grant for Santuit Pond for internal loading that we'll be working with the SNEP network with.
That's impressive. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the presentation on the 250th celebration of the American Revolutionary War with Mr. Richard DeSorga, Historical Commission. You want to come up?
May I join?
Absolutely. Good to have you here, Ms. Costello.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
How you doing?
Oh, that's beautiful. Wonderful job. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. For you.
Thank you. Richard DeSorga, 65 Shields Road, and member of the Historical Commission, along with Ava Costello. As you know, this is the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. Already events have begun to taking place. The reenactment of the Ride of Paul Revere, the reenactment of the battles of Lexington and Concord this past weekend, the reenactment of the Battle of Bunker Hill. There was no town-wide recognition of 250th anniversary from Mashpee, and so the commission felt it was important to do something. And so the Historical Commission, after having completed research for the war monument that included the Revolutionary War, decided to put out a booklet for town-wide distribution as an educational avenue to make the town aware of the sacrifice and the role that Mashpee played in the American Revolution. We also wanted to involve the young people of the town. They, of course, are our future of our town and our country. So working with Brian Brody of the Social Studies History Department at Mashpee Middle High School, and also with the Mashpee Middle School High School National Honor Society, of which he's the advisor, we shared the research that we had to focus on the 15 from Mashpee, all Wampanoag, who paid the ultimate sacrifice and gave their life for their country during the Revolutionary War. We also enlisted the services of Honor Society President and then Senior Alicia Sharfy as an intern last summer. She worked with us. And then we worked with the Honor Society as a whole throughout all of last year. And we put together what you see in front of you there, the history of the role that Mashpee played in the Revolutionary War. And you can see in the very beginning, we want to make sure people were familiar with the different terms. We have an introduction, and that goes through the role that Mashpee played. We have 65 different individuals that fought in the war, and we go into the different roles that they played, some serving in the militia, some serving in the Continental Army. And then, starting on page 6, you can see we begin to look at the 15. And this took a lot of research to do because, as you know, Mashpee was a district, and most to enlist had to go to a surrounding town in order to enlist. And so we had to deal with the research in all the surrounding towns as well. And the other thing that made it difficult, as you know, Wampanoags didn't have necessarily a permanent address, and they had summer and winter housing that they went back and forth, so it was difficult to place actual residency. And so you can see the 15 individuals that we have and the role that they played, the different battles that we were able to research that they served in. And then starting on page 18, you can see the role that the militia played. Most of them were under Nathaniel Friedman's 1st Barnstable County company, and you can see starting on page 19, you can see all the different times that the militias were used throughout the war. The largest, of course, being the attack on Falmouth in April of 1779. That Mashpee also played a role. And then it ends on page 22, the different battles we were able to research that those from Mashpee actually played a role in. From the battles of Saratoga, we know at least 8 were in Valley Forge with Washington and suffered for the extreme cold and the conditions that took place there. Many also were in the Battle of Monmouth in New Jersey. Many also were out at Lake Champlain defending Fort Ticonderoga, and then a large number in the Hudson River area. As you know, the British had controlled New York City, and we controlled the upper Hudson up to West Point to control that area. And then the last one on page 25, the Battle of Bennington, which preceded the battles of Saratoga. And then you can see all our sources and where we were able to obtain information on each of the 15 that did die during the war. And then on page 29, there is a list which is also on the war monument across the street. And then, which we're very excited, we joined with the 3rd grade students at the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribal Weedamoo School. And we asked, they were asked what was it meant to them to be a warrior. And you can see on page 30 and 31 the different engravings and their views of that. So we're working with Kathy Mahoney at the library. That will be the distribution center of the booklets. They are free. We're asking that to be 1 per family because of the numbers. So you can obtain that booklet at the library starting tomorrow. We'll have that up there. What else, Avi, you want to add?
I just wanted to add, as you may recall, that we do an annual award for historic preservation. And I'm very happy to announce that this year the award goes to the Mashpee High School
National Honor
Society for their work on the booklet. And we will also be honoring the 3rd grade at the Wampanoag School for their artwork. And we will be celebrating them, date to be determined. And everyone is welcome to attend that ceremony.
And then while I have you here, just real quick, just to remind you that on July the 13th, we were having that banner ceremony, and hopefully, Michaela, as chair, you'll be able to give a greeting, and hopefully the other members will be able to attend as well. And I'll leave just one, we have a new thing tied with the schoolhouse this year. Every Monday, we are doing a Mashpee history walking tour of the park. That includes all the artifacts that are inside the archives building, and then we have photos of what Mashpee used to be like, and all the old buildings from the library that used to be here, the two schools, the North schools that used to be where we're sitting right now, the original Baptist church, the country store, trading post, the old town hall and public library, the Annie Willard Parknet store, 12 acres, the Adequan Hotel. So it's a 1-hour tour every Monday on the hour at 11, 12, and 1. And of course, Tuesdays, we continue to have the schoolhouse open for everybody to come in. So I'm getting a little advertising in there too.
Alex, exciting. Thank you so much for all the work on this and for involving the youth in such a meaningful way at different ages. So the Honor Society and then the third graders. So I appreciate that. I know we all do. Are there questions? Mr. Collins? Oh.
I just want to say, once again, I got to commend the work of you and the Historical Committee in collaborating and putting this together. There's a lot of anticipated influx of tourism associated with the Revolutionary War commemoration coming up. And, you know, to have something that you can hand out and give to folks is great. You did a great job on this. It looks very professional. Is it copyrighted? Is one question.
You know, that's one thing that crossed my mind a week ago, but I never brought it up.
No, we actually didn't.
The part of the reason I ask is because I think there's a value to this, and if it's available for purchase, I'd love to contribute towards the funding going to the work that you do as a historical commission. And if you put a price tag on it, we'd be happy to sell it at the Tribal Museum.
Well, it's free.
Contribute to
It's
your-
free. And we're actually going to give you a box, if you could bring up to the tribal headquarters and put that up there as well. We have a sign, again, asking, same as the library, that there be one per family. So we didn't want to charge for it. We wanted to make sure people would have access to get it.
Because there's not a whole lot of content out there, I'm just wondering how many you would need to publish to keep up with the demand. And so recognizing that there's a cost associated to everything, I think the work that you did is great. And like I said, it looks very professional. It's nicely done. There's a lot of information packed into it. And so I would consider, I'd suggest putting a nominal fee to it, just even if it covered expenses of publishing, and put a little bit in the coffers of the Historical Commission to continue the great work you do.
I will say, I don't know, I don't want to speak before, but I was informed by Kathy Mahoney that the Friends of the Library, if we run out of this, they will publish, they will pick up the cost for the next, and we're hoping that will carry us through the summer. And then we're also hoping, because the school originally was going to help us publish this for nothing, but then suddenly graduation came in. We wanted to get this out by the 4th of July, and we're hoping that the school would then be able to cover that come September when they come back in. So.
And I think, David, that's a lovely idea, and I thank you for it, and the tribe. We'll take into advisement about the copyright, and we'll let you know. I mean, just the thought that you see, having been involved with it for so long, anyone who's worked on a project, you kind of see it from a different eye. But to have your fresh eyes looking at it and thinking that this is something really special means a lot to us. Thank you.
Great work.
This is very special. I have two of my downline, like two of my grandparents, so on both my mom and my dad's side on this list. And
Oh,
so
what are their names?
I've never, so the Keeter family and the Tumpum family. So I've never seen them in this context, only on my family tree. So this is really exciting and amazing work. It's fascinating.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Mr. Collins?
First of all, thank you for all your hard work and dedication. Much appreciated. Any update on the landmarks for the town hall?
Yes, there are. We are at the point that we're doing the final draft. We have quotes from 2 different sources for production. The Historical Commission now is doing a review of the written information. So I'm gathering all that to go back and take a look to make sure about the accuracy as well as anything major that may have been unknown at the time. As a matter of fact, Rosemary Burns Love just sent me an email about the Mill Pond, because there's been a lot of talk about the Mill Pond and filling it in. And I've learned a lot about the Mill Pond in the last week, on how it was first a meadow, and then how in the 1800s it was made into a smaller pond, and then a larger pond, and so I have to do some addendum work on the Mill Pond. But yes, it is definitely in the works.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave, give me $5 to give it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Communications and correspondence. Mr. Collins.
In terms of communication and correspondence, there has been communication to my office relative to jet skis on Mashpee Wakeby, and that issue is being addressed. But there were a lot of
I bet.
complaints relative to the activity this past weekend.
Awesome, thank you.
And some of the behavior of those who have engaged in such activity, and how disrespectful some of the operators were.
Disappointing. Okay, moving to old business, update on process for proposed 40B project at Lot 14 Job's Fishing Road. Mr. Tobin.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Again, for the record, Brian Tobin, Town Planner. I'll just give a brief update. As this board already knows, this board received a letter from Mass Housing regarding the On Commons LLC project eligibility letter approval process. For context, again, to recap, this process is a precursor to a 40B, MGL Chapter 40B comprehensive permit application. So first, an applicant needs to prove that the project is in fact eligible for financing from a subsidizing agency. In this case, it's Mass Housing. We scheduled a site visit, or the state rather scheduled a site visit that town officials, board members, and committees were welcome to come to and participate in for June 18th at 11 a.m. That was obviously at the site, although the lot is not presently cleared, so we primarily gathered on an adjacent lot where the proposed east campus, I believe, of the Mashpee Commons already approved 40B project is located. We had an excellent turnout. Members of this board were present, members of the Affordable Housing Committee, members of the Planning Board, the Fire Department was there. I think almost every board and committee was represented. There's Conservation Commission was there.
EOC.
Yeah, so it was a CPC, yep, yeah.
And EOC was there as well.
And EOC as well, yeah. So it was just fantastic to see everybody to take interest in this project and to have an opportunity to acquire knowledge in a hands-on manner, because there's no substitute for a site visit, especially in the real estate world. At present, technically, the deadline for the comments is still July 7th, but I had a conversation with Mike Busby, and he definitely said 15 days is not a problem. And I Mike Busby is from Mass Housing. He's the relationship manager there. And he also, so he has informally already approved a 15-day extension. I did also in that conversation say to him I wanted to check this board's calendar and just make sure that that 15-day mark fell at an appropriate time. After checking the calendar, I realized it actually falls in between two select board meetings. So we, I think the next one is presently scheduled for the 14th. Am I correct? Yeah. And so the 15-day extension gives us an extra week, like an extra week of that 15 days is actually after a select board meeting and before the next one. So I think I'm going to go ahead, if this board thinks it's a good idea, and just be so bold as to ask for enough time to get us to the day after the second select board meeting, which is on the 28th. And then what I intend to do there is keep the July 7th deadline, the deadline for internal comments from the relative boards, committees, and town officials. So that's for the most part the update. To recap on the project again, this is a developer-sponsored project. It's not a town-sponsored project, so it's developer-initiated. It's proposing 65 units on a 1.86 acre lot per the application. And there's approximately 122 bedrooms. No, excuse me. There's precisely 122 bedrooms, and they intend to tie into the Mashpee Commons already existing wastewater treatment plant. So without any further elaboration, I'm happy to field any comments or answer any questions.
Good stuff.
Thank you for that. I think sometimes I wanted this on the agenda because I think it's important to bring it before the public so that they have ongoing information about how we're moving through the process. So I appreciate your update. I also appreciate the fact that we can get an extension that goes to the 28th. That would be really, really helpful.
Great.
Between the two of us, I realize we didn't mention the Human Services Committee was there.
Correct.
And IT was also there. And because they were both there asking really important questions. And if we missed anybody else, I apologize to them.
Yeah, for certain. But there was at least 30 people there that showed up, and maybe even 40. So it was a fantastic turnout. It shows how much people care about the town. So.
And no deliberations.
Yes, but no deliberations. Great
Correct.
asterisk.
But we were able to walk a lot of the site, which makes it, as Mr. Tobin was saying, more real and more understandable about what could fit there. So it was good.
Great.
Any questions at all? Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. Yep.
Okay. We have review of retail alcoholic beverage license application for change of DBA 26 Steeple Street, Marketonis Group, Inc. Did I pronounce the name correctly?
Yeah, you actually did. It was,
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm glad.
hi, my name's Dimitri Markantonis. My family owns the Estia restaurants in the Commons and also in Falmouth on Main Street. I'm here because we're requesting to change our DBA name from Estia to Asti, not because we want to, but because we are engaged in a conflict with another party who engaged us with a cease and desist letter claiming ownership to the trademark right of the name Estia as it applies to category 43 restaurants and hotels. We hope to minimize any transition by acting swiftly with a similar name to minimize any disruption. I'd be happy to elaborate further, but this is hopefully going to be a small transition that's necessary for us to continue.
Unless anybody has questions, I'd accept a motion to approve the alcoholic beverage license application for a change of DBA from Estia to Asti.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Mike?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Tracy? Yes. And yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's always something, huh?
And I'll be going whether it's ST or RST. The next, we have review of application for one-day liquor license, 31 Frank E. Hicks Drive, Mashpee. Ruth Provost, Boys and Girls Club. Do we have? Thank you, Mr. Kiley.
Good evening, everybody. Yep, we're looking for a one-day liquor license. We're going to have a fundraising event for the teen center up on the location up there on June 17th from 6 to 8 o'clock. And, just want to be able to provide some beverages and some food for the folks that are attending. We've hired a PR firm to really help us put this project over the top, which I truly believe is going to be one of the most impactful investments in the youth of Cape Cod. So really appreciate everyone's support. And the town's been great to us, and hopefully we continue.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Are there any questions?
No.
Okay, I'd accept a motion for a one-day liquor license at 31 Frank E. Hicks Drive, Mashpee Boys and Girls Club.
No move.
Second.
Discussion?
Wish you the best of luck.
All right.
What's that?
Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Hope to see everybody there.
Absolutely.
I'm excited for a teen center. I've thought about that since growing up here.
Been a long
So it's
dream, and it's going to
Very
It's
exciting.
going to happen. We've got the plans all done, good amount of money raised, and this should put us over the top.
Absolutely wonderful.
All right.
Tracy?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very
All
much.
right, and we'll see you then.
All right. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. I'm going to switch the agenda just a little bit. I'm going to move to item 12 first. Item 12 is discussion of policies and procedures relative to special events and use of town facilities by the town manager.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. At your last meeting, an issue came up relative to an event that prompted some inquiries that led to me researching this a little further in terms of practice versus policy. And long story short, what I discovered is we don't have a clear bylaw, nor do we have a clear policy relative to this process. And that has been articulated publicly in the newspaper when they called. What is of interest to me in terms of process is to make sure that whatever the board chooses to do, that we do it consistently and that we also do it based on identified criteria that we can defend if there was ever a challenge. So from my perspective, we have a facilities application that is processed through DPW. We have a special events application that generally is processed through recreation. However, when I tried to delve into that a little deeper and spoke with the recreation director, she had indicated to me that this was established before her arrival, which means it was established before my arrival in this capacity. With that having been said, I also dug a little further in regards to exactly how this came about, and there was no specificity. I couldn't even tell you the precise purpose behind it, other than to say, this has been the practice, this has been the tradition. If you use the function room in the library, you go through the library director. If it's a special event, you go through the recreation director. If it's a facilities use, you go through the DPW director. And certain events came before this board. The issue is we have not clearly defined what that is. We've had folks, including those sitting here, who have stood out at the Commons, or not Commons, but the circle at the Rotary, and there's never been an issue, nor should there have been. So I think what we need to do, in my humble opinion, is hit pause. And I know that you have two special events. One is Mashpee Night Out, and the other is the Surf Casting Clinic, which former Selectman Gottlieb says I should take. But in all seriousness, I think I would respectfully request that the board stay or put on pause any further reviews of this nature until we can come up with a proposed policy for you to review and to comment on and to get feedback from. And I think we should run it through legal for the purposes of making sure that it passes muster constitutionally, as well as the laws of the Commonwealth and the bylaws of the town. And assuming it meets all of that criteria, establish some parameters for you to consider for which you can potentially say yes or no to, depending upon what the circumstances are. But at this point, I would respectfully request that the board put any further reviews on hold and also grant retroactively the same to the ones that right now are in limbo because of their status, because we had at the last meeting a 2-2 vote. I'm not trying to take this commentary and turn it into anything political, but what I am saying to you, Madam Chair, is in order for us to deny anything, I think you should have a policy by which you've defined why you're doing it, rather than doing it for a policy that doesn't exist, if that makes sense.
Okay. It does to me, but just for clarification, so we're going to hold on the two events, 7, both events and 8 that are on here, and allow these to happen without a vote, because it's impossible to vote where there's not a clear and stated policy. And this came about because of 2 weeks ago, I believe. That's what caused you to examine this?
What caused me to examine this is there were calls, there were questions.
Yeah.
So when you get calls and questions, you do a little research.
Correct.
And I probably should have had the answer for this board long before now, quite frankly. But the questions prompted the research, and there's no policy or bylaw or anything that I could find that I could attach any decision-making for this board to. So my point is, I think it's best at this juncture to just hit pause, and unless there's an objection from this board, that's what I intend to do, and we're not going to put any more on the agenda until we have a policy that the board has adopted after appropriate review. You'll have an opportunity to add, delete, amend, revise, however you deem fit. But I do believe it should be thoroughly reviewed and subject to legal approval in terms of form, so that whatever you decide to do, we're doing it in case there's a challenge. I know what I'm defending. If that makes sense.
It makes sense to me. I don't know if there are questions from other board members.
No question.
Only question I have is anticipating, we get these periodically, sometimes some meetings more than others. So what's the timeline for executing it and having a draft come before us for initial review?
I'd like to have a draft for you at the next meeting.
That's awesome.
I'm going to be careful saying that'll be the final draft, but we'll have some form of a rough draft for your July 14th meeting. 14th? 14th.
With potential approval of a final draft at the following?
Yes, sir.
Sounds good.
So I would respectfully request there be no action taken on these next two items, and for the board to understand that they're going to take place, because there's no action for you to take, because there's really no policy in terms of what we're doing.
Right. And also because we had no stated policy on June 9th. We actually didn't have a vote wasn't required, or we didn't have any more authority then to take a vote, I believe, if I'm hearing correctly.
And given the dates, as the assistant just reminded me, you should be okay, because if we have a policy for your approval July 14th, then obviously it's not going to conflict with these dates.
Do we
That
rescind the
was,
vote,
that was
David
kind of,
first and then Mike.
that was kind of what was leading that timeline is, I think with the dates with the events that are in front of us, if we have something by that end of July, then we could actually approve the events and implement the policy for the first time, the adopted policy for the first time.
Yes, sir.
I would make an motion to table items, item 8, review of special event permit applications on our tonight's agenda. If the
And to, I don't know how to word that with regard to June 9th.
Okay, so
That.
the last one, I believe there was a scheduled event, July 13th. So that would be prior to your meeting. So I would just say this would be retroactive. So therefore, there's going to be no expectation of a permit prior to the formal adoption of your policy. I can't even say revised policy because there is no
Should we rescind
policy.
the vote from the last meeting? That's what he did, we leaves everything open,
I don't,
right?
that's a really good question. I don't know that we have
Could
to
you
in
repeat
that.
that,
We didn't really have a policy to base a vote on, so we really didn't have the authority to vote based on that.
Well, yeah,
Is
well, the
that-
problem is
but-
we took the vote, that's all. But I'm
Sure,
fine
we
with either
did.
way.
Yeah, my only concern is, yes, there was a vote, and obviously there was a time. My only concern is, based on what I have researched and what
Correct.
I've just referenced, we don't have any policy or criteria by which to do that. And I think it would be best, in my humble opinion, for the board to have a policy and to follow your criteria consistently, whatever it may be.
My understanding is that, per Robert's rules, someone from the prevailing side at the next meeting can make a motion to rescind the vote. I believe that's the case. Is that whoever is on the prevailing side can make a motion to rescind a vote at the next subsequent meeting. That's something that would have to come from the prevailing side.
And I just didn't know if we needed to do that, but we may. So could we first, so we have a motion to put item 8, these two events that we're not voting, that these will move forward because we don't have a policy until a policy is in place.
Until a policy.
Correct.
Motion that we put these on hold until the next meeting, at which point we hope to be able to vote something like that. Because we don't know what the policy is we're gonna have one next meeting or not, but we should motion to not vote on these tonight. Right?
Trying to think how to frame it in a way that.
I think the
due to
safest
lack of
thing
policy,
is
you have
is
that
to
one.
table these. I'm
Table,
hoping to have a draft for you for the 14th, but in case I don't, I wouldn't want this vote to be tied to the 14th. That's all I'm saying.
So we're going to take no action and allow these two events to go through because we don't right now have a policy in place.
But for sequence purposes, do we rescind the previous one,
Right.
which initiated this whole discussion?
Right.
And to allow that to move forward?
We could.
I'm just wondering, like, how best to frame that in a motion.
Could we frame it,
Or
could
do
we
you,
frame it in two motions?
do you need two motions? I think it would be
If I was to
easier.
make a motion, I'd make a motion that we rescind the vote from the previous meeting relative to that event, and that we table these two until the next meeting, at which time we hope to have a policy.
Is there a second?
That covers
Perfect.
it all.
Is there a second?
Where I wasn't at the meeting, I'm a little reluctant
Okay.
to second the motion of rescinding. So I defer to other members of the board to rescind that motion.
I'll second the motion. Okay. Is there further discussion?
Yes.
I'm just waiting to see if there's further discussion before we vote. So,
I just have some strong thoughts that I just want to put on the record. I do think, and I'm glad that it's reached the level of a policy conversation. I'm very new on select board, but just, independently permitting or not permitting, free speech, just felt really uncomfortable to me, and I just want to go on record for stating that. And then I also felt uncomfortable because I was out many a morning during campaigning on the Rotary, and so it felt very inequitable. So I just want to go on record by saying that.
For me, as part of the discussion, I heard about this, read some of the articles in the paper and stuff, and so I think we need to be consistent, and we've permitted events where there's kids there, and so, safety's never been an issue that I've never seen anything happen at any of the events around the Rotary. I think everybody has conducted themselves responsibly. If kids are going to be there, they're watched after. So, I don't know that I understand the reasoning in denying for that purpose. But I think that the other thing is that while on the planning board, I did go to the citizens planner trainings, and at those events, they're for elected officials and appointed officials. And one of the big takeaways from that was that whenever we make decisions as a body, they have to be defendable. And so you need policy and you need to be consistent so that you can have decisions that you can stand behind. It can't be slighted in any way. It has to be fair. There has to be parity. And so creating a policy is the right approach.
other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, I would like to take a vote. Tracy?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Review of recommendations for appointment to the following. Council on Aging, James Lowe, Member at Large. Is James Lowe here? You want to come up? Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Lowe. You have a wonderful, lot of experience, a wonderful CV. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your interest in serving?
Sure. No, I believe in, it's our responsibility to serve the community. You know, I have a history of service, served in the Coast Guard for 25 years until I retired. And in any community that I've worked in, I've served on various boards, whether it be the Red Cross, Civil Service Commission in another town or in another state. One of the draws in our moving to, deciding to retire in Mashpee was that it had a, great town, great senior center, aging services, great police department and library and services. And so since we've moved here full-time in 2018, I've looked around, I participate in Meals on Wheels, and I've been a Shine volunteer at the Council on Aging or the Senior Center, and just thought that that would be a great place to contribute to the community.
Super.
Any
And
questions for me?
I see that the committee followed policy. We have all our forms here, and your recommendations are really good. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Lowe?
Just love the intersection of your experience and what you are excited to contribute to. So enjoyed reading about you.
Okay. So I would accept a motion to appoint to the Council of Aging, James Lowe, member at large.
Second.
So, Mike, you moved it, you
Sorry.
seconded it. Any discussion? Tracy?
Yes.
David?
None. Yes. No discussion. and
Mike?
yes.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Well, welcome and thank you for your willingness to serve the community. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks very much.
We're lucky to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Barnstable County Coastal Resource Council.
Madam
Sorry.
Chair,
Madam Schlesinger?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we just received notice that she is unable to attend.
Okay. I don't know how the board wants to proceed. Is there a committee that she, Mr.
No, this is a county appointment
Okay.
to the county, so, and this is the only applicant that we've had, and she is very interested.
And she has a sterling resume, too. So we wouldn't need committee approval. Are people willing to move forward on this without Mrs. Schlesinger here? Schlesinger? Or would you want to wait? What's the preference of the board?
It's not as though we have a big rush on people to join, so if we have someone who's interested, we probably ought to vote yes.
And she has a really impressive resume. All right, is that a motion to recommend?
Approve, yes.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Mike?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Barnstable County Home Consortium Advisory Council, Brian Tobin, Mashpee representative. He's been on this, has he not? Is this a reappointment? Do we need to have Brian here? Yeah. Please.
He was not on it, but he shows an interest to be on it, and we had an opening because the last gentleman, I can't remember his name, just resigned. He was part of the Affordable Housing Committee, I think.
I mean, do we have a motion to approve Brian Tobin, who's been here most of the night, to the Barnstable County Home Consortium Advisory Council?
I know.
So moved.
He left the meeting, I'm not so
Second.
sure.
Discussion?
No.
Mike?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. Next, we have review and approval of annual board and committee reappointments. Do we have a corrected copy of the committee, or do we want to amend it here?
All I can tell you is, according to staff, this is the latest that was in our database. So
Okay.
I know that some inaccuracies have been brought up. We would certainly want to correct them immediately. And we invite the board or any other committee or commission or board to participate in making sure that we got it right. As you know, from some of the activity that has been here this evening, they come and they go, and we've got to make sure that we're keeping updated records, but by the same token, we're only able to update the information that we receive, and sometimes we're not always getting it. So we welcome feedback.
Okay. I don't know if anybody else has any comments on this or any corrections.
Looking at the last page, or is it the first page? The bylaw review, would that town clerk position would be Jessica now?
Right. Could I make a suggestion?
Please.
Madam Chair? Maybe the board could take a look at this and contact staff at my
Okay.
office directly so that we could get this updated
Sure.
and then maybe revisit it at the next meeting, if that's okay.
I think that is perfect.
Because we know that there are some inaccuracies
Mm-hmm.
here.
Yeah.
So if we could have each board member look. I know I noticed some inaccuracies, but I'm not familiar with all the boards and committees, but if we all looked at it and sent those changes, should we send them to you and Christine?
Yes,
And to
Please.
copying the assistant town manager?
yes,
Okay, and we should do that individually?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
You said individually, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
How does that affect, where some of these are June 30th, how does that affect those committees? Are they going to be,
Well, there'd be a stay over until your meeting at the 14th.
is that something that needs a motion to?
Maybe,
Extend.
maybe if you could just do that, sir, and just extend until the 14th so that we're covered, so there's no question.
Thank you. Do you want to make a motion?
Make a, what do you call it, continuing, continued appointment until.
An extension.
An extension to the terms as presented until the next select board meeting,
July 14th.
July 14th.
Thank you.
That's a motion, I'll second.
Okay. Discussion? Tracy?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. And do we have to vote to table this, or is this? Okay, thank you. Okay. Review and execution of the intermunicipal agreement between the town of Mashpee and Mashpee Water District.
These are the standard terms and conditions, and I know I reviewed it with the superintendent, Andy Marks, and the Water District, I believe, has approved, so we're just waiting for the select board to approve.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the execution of the IMA between the town of Mashpee and the Mashpee Water District?
So moved.
Second.
Is there discussion? Mike?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
And I'm yes. Okay. Public comment. All right, public comment. Lynn Barbie?
Good evening, Lynn Barbie, Surf Drive. I have a couple of quick comments. One is, I went down to the pond to swim today at Mashpee and discovered that the signage that I normally look at said fine, and then it turns out that there was a sign that warning about going into the water that was posted on the back of the bench, which was, I couldn't see because there was a car parked right in front of it. So I'm hoping that in the future, whenever there's a warning about not swimming, that it gets posted on the actual signage that's there, not just a flyer on the back of the bench. And the other very quick thing is, I was very pleased to hear the information that Rob Galabois gave us about doing some the work with the drug use issues. And I just would like to ask that hopefully we can make a presentation to the Select Board sometime next month about the awards that the Human Services Committee has made to our many different organizations for using the opioid money. We've finalized that list, and we're just making sure that everybody is notified of that. So hopefully next month we can bring that information to you, because we've been working very hard on that. And just to remind the public that there are Narcan boxes with Narcan in the public library, at the senior center, and right outside in the hall here at Town Hall. We're doing our part to try to get the Narcan out. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Richard Donovan?
Good evening. Richard Donovan, Pondview Drive here in Mashpee. I appreciate Mr. Collins' comments regarding the review of the process and the policies and the forms and such in regard to special events and such. And Mr. Whedon's comments that these policies be applied consistently and with equity. Of course, that's a freedom we have under the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, equal application of the law. But also, I wanted to say that in regard to formulating or reviewing or developing the policies and the procedures and the forms and the reviews and all the mechanics of that process, that the First Amendment be taken into account very directly and clearly. If my sister wants to take her We the People sign, and I want to take my Justice for All sign, and my mom wants to bring her due process sign, and we want to stand out on the public roadway, not in the roadway, on the easement, on the public right-of-way for pedestrians, then we will do that. And any policies or procedures or forms or such that the Mashpee develop, please do take that into account, that there is the First Amendment to the Constitution, which is enshrined as bedrock principles. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Kupperman? Hi, Dan.
Good evening. Dan Kupferman, Tracy Lane. I'm also here to speak to the issue that Town Manager Collins just raised, and I hope it helps to inform your future discussion and decision. I was disappointed and confused by the Select Board's decision on June 9th to deny a special event permit for a social justice rally organized by Indivisible, scheduled for July 13th at the Mashpee Rotary. I personally attended 3 of their events, and all were peaceful and uplifting, with many passers-by honking in support and giving thumbs up. Their events have consistently remained peaceful, including one on April 27th at the Mashpee Rotary, which the board approved, which is why I was confused when safety was raised as a concern during the June 9th discussion. One Select Board member stated that they were offended by the sight of an upside-down flag at a rally. I respect that people may find such symbols upsetting, but being offended is not the same as being unsafe. An upside-down flag is a lawful, nonviolent form of free speech. I'm concerned that it was used as justification to deny a permit. Furthermore, if the concern is that someone might react violently to a peaceful protest, then the threat lies with the aggressor, not with those exercising their First Amendment rights. Denying a permit under these circumstances borders on victim blaming. As Mr. Donovan just stated, the First Amendment of the Constitution protects the right to free speech and peaceable assembly, which raises a larger question that I think you're going to be pondering. If peaceable assembly is a constitutional right, should the Select Board be in the position of deciding whether and when citizens may exercise it? Thank you.
Thank you. Marion Murphy.
Hi, I'm Marianne Murphy from Tracy Lane, and I'm also here to speak about the denial of the permit to rally at the Rotary on July 13th, which I understand now has been rescinded. But I appreciate Town Manager Collins' proposal to create clearer policies around this, and I'm hoping that that will clarify a lot of things. But I've been a member of Indivisible, which brought that proposal for a few months now, and I've attended rallies also in Falmouth, the Bourne Rotary, the Hyannis Rotary, and in New York City. And I just want to share some of my experiences again as this new policy gets developed. The rallies that I've been to have been much more positive than negative. Certainly from those of us who were rallying, we were pretty positive, but also the people driving by. The comments from a couple of weeks ago at the meeting talked a lot about the negative responses, but my experience has been a lot of people honking their horns in support, people thanking us for standing up for what we believe in, and people giving us thumbs up. And not that that's necessary, that there be positive responses, but to me, at each one of these rallies, I've been brought to tears and so touched by the support of the community for people standing up for what they believe in, and in many cases, obviously agreeing with what we were standing up for. There was discussion at the last meeting, too, about sorry, that's the same thing. Rallies alone may not change the world, but they do matter because they're public ways to express the will of the people who participate and encourage more people to speak up. So it's not just what happens on that day when we rally, but it's when the people driving around the Rotary see us and realize that we're willing to stand there and express our beliefs, that I think it gives strength to other people then to stand up and speak to their representatives as well. Regarding safety, Indivisible does trainings on how to be safe. It's stressed at every one of their meetings. They meet every week, and it's stressed all the time about being non-confrontational ourselves and staying out of the roadway and just being safe. They provide safety marshals in neon vests who are there to support if anything does go wrong and just to remind people to be safe and non-confrontational. And the fact is that if we're in a rotary, people may slow down some as they're driving around, but it is the responsibility of a driver to be safe and drive safely even if there are distractions. So, and for myself, I try to keep my signs simple so that people aren't too distracted. Anyway, as a citizen of Mashpee, I hope that we're going to allow this because I don't want to have to travel to other towns to express my constitutional rights.
Thank you very much. I have Sue Dangle and then Mary Wagon. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you. GSIT's year 5. I've been here 5 Junes in a row with the news that is sad but not unexpected that Wakeby Pond is under a full advisory, closure to swimming, keep your pets and children out of the water. And Mashpee Pond is under a potential for concern. There was a little bit of scum layer in some areas of Mashpee Pond this morning, but it quickly dissipated. And into Lynn's comment prior, it wasn't really until 2 o'clock this afternoon that the testing had been completed and those advisories were made. So I think that we were talking to the folks at the Adequan Beach just to tell them that there's a concern. But at this point, Mashpee is not under the same strict advisory as Wakeby. And I also wanted to say thank you to Mr. Collins for his comments tonight about the jet skis. I've also heard, in my position as president of Save Mashpee Wakeby, I often get a lot of calls And almost as predictable as a cyano bloom, on the first day of summer, we have absolute pandemonium with jet skis on Wakeby over by the Ryder Beach. And I thank you for looking into that and things that we could do to make sure that we keep people safe. Someone's going to get hurt if this continues, not without a doubt. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Mary Wagon.
Thank you. So I just Mary Wagon, 35 of Schumett Road, and I just want to thank Richard, Dan, and Marianne for coming tonight and sharing their thoughts. It was very moving. It moved me. I myself have been at the Rotary with no incidents, and am glad that we're going into a different direction on that matter. But I am here to talk about Wacoit Bay. So the Citizens to Preserve Wacoit Bay sent me an email, and it was catered towards Falmouth residents because they were asking people to go to a Falmouth board, the Water Quality Management Committee in Falmouth on June 25th at 4:30 at Falmouth Town Hall. And it says, Wacoit Bay can't wait. It's high time to get to work restoring Wacoit Bay. For at least 2 weeks in mid-May, Wacoit Bay was covered by a massive mat of algae, earlier than usual, thicker and smellier, impeding boating and shellfishing, and creating an oxygen-deprived environment for plants and marine life. And one of their board members from the Citizens to Preserve Wacoit Bay said, Wacoit Bay needs a full-throttle approach to starving off its death as an estuary. Now, the Wacoit Bay estuary was, and when it was healthy, was the most productive estuary north of Chesapeake Bay. It has since fallen off because of nitrogen and nutrient pollution. So I'm hoping that, I know you have water quality updates coming up, but I'm hoping that the town takes a real serious action on getting Wacoit Bay sewered and cleaned up. I don't think that we send the majority of nutrients there. I'm not sure who does. It might be 3 towns, I'm not sure. But we've got to get going on this. It can't be something that can be delayed any further. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Are there additional topics? Liaison reports?
None at this time for myself.
Water quality updates.
I have some.
Oh, I apologize.
Sorry.
Go ahead. I didn't see it.
Yeah, I have a couple of updates. So the Mashpee Chamber of Commerce, their new guidebook is out. So pick yourself up a copy. Also, Boston 25 is coming to Mashpee July 27th. So if the town of Mashpee wants to add something we feel is, we want them to cover or to highlight anything in particular, Mashpee Chamber of Commerce would love to have those recommendations by the end of next week, so by July 3rd, since the 4th is a holiday. So that might be an exciting opportunity for us to think about some things about our town that make it special or that we want to highlight. Also, La Tavola is coming August 1st, so they wanted to put a little plug in for that. I attended the Human Services Committee meeting, and we're gearing up for Behavioral Health 360, so I'm really excited to see that work moving forward, that staff has really spent a lot of time getting prepared, and that will provide a lot of resources for local residents free of cost. So just a more accessible way to access. It could be mental health, it could be substance use resources, services. So lots of exciting work with that. And Lynn spoke a little bit earlier, but we also talked about the opioid abatement funding. So while decisions and nonprofits aren't listed yet, they need to be notified. It was just a very good experience to hear a lot of the local work happening for substance use and harm reduction and also recovery that are supporting residents of Mashpee. So it was a very enlightening meeting. I think that's it for my updates. Yes, I was also going to talk about the water quality, so thank you. for
Could I,
highlighting
could I just ask you a question about, because you mentioned by July 3rd, Boston 25 and the Chamber,
Yeah, so
what are you asking us to do?
So if we have anything of significance as a town that we want them in particular to cover or highlight, that maybe we could pass on to Mashpee Chamber of Commerce, if we think of anything. I mean, it could be nothing, but the invitation was extended, so just passing that information along.
Madam Chair, I have been in contact with Channel 25, and they have just sent me a full list of items that they'd like to have addressed. The town manager, someone to speak, those types of things, and I'll get that list out as well.
Thank you so much.
If you would like to speak, please take my place.
I'll cheer you on.
Or the vice chair.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All right. Water quality updates. So, Tracy, did you want to start that?
I was just going to share about the advisory from earlier. It's very concerning and wanted to make sure that people were aware. I also realized, I'm not sure the process of how signage happens when there's an advisory, but I do think that there's accessibility, right? Like not everyone's on a Facebook platform or on Instagram, so they might not have that information readily available right away, but we certainly want to ensure the safety of people and their pets in the water.
Correct.
We will follow up on that regarding communication and just make sure that there's reasonable notice.
Okay. And that comes through the Board of Health, yes? Okay. I think given what's happening at Mashpee Wakeby yet again, it really highlights the importance of us moving forward with the article for the town warrant to really be able to address some of the external sources of pollution to Mashpee Wakeby. And I also think it's important to keep in mind, I'm not responding to public comment, however it is, I guess I am, that work is being planned for Wacoit based on articles at the previous town meeting, the May town meeting. We approved the exploration of a site for Wacoit, meaning for sewering, and so that is in the works. That exploration needs to be completed by our wastewater department, working in conjunction with GHD. But that is in the works. Voters approved that in May. So I think that's really important to keep in mind. With regard to our contribution, I think Mashpee's contribution to the pollution, or the nitrogen, I should say, just nitrogen in Wacoit is right around 45%. And we share that with Falmouth, and then Sandwich has a smaller part of that. The IMA will be meeting on the morning of July 14th, and clearly that would be something that we would discuss. So that's my water quality. Town manager updates. Do you have anything else, Mr. Collins?
The only other thing I wanted to mention is we have received approval through the state for a flashing light or beacon at the crosswalk of Route 130 in Sturgis Lane, which is very similar to the one at Windchime on Great Neck Road South. So it's to enhance safety from one side of the road to the other in regards to the walkway.
Thank you. Anything else? So at this time, I'll consider a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
That's the motion.
I move the Select Board enter into executive session in accordance with the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss litigation strategy with respect to Stephanie Coleman versus Town of Mashpee, MCAD case number 24 NEM 00723, /EEOC/HUD number 16C/2025-01203 as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and as the chair declares, the board will not convene in open session following.
Do I need to read that? In my opinion, holding this discussion in open session would have a detrimental impact on the board's litigating position. So we had a motion, a second. Discussion? Mike?
No, I'm good.
Okay, then a roll call vote. Mike?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.